This is an MTG EDH deck tech for a commander from wildsofeldraine that I've been having a lot of fun with, Kellan the Fae-Blooded. He's mostly been written off as another Boros equipment commander, but I feel like there's plenty of interesting ways to build him, and I feel he hasn't been getting enough appreciation. So if you're interested, stick around, and if you'd like to see more of these, definitely tell me. I've got plenty of decks that I'm interested in covering eventually. Let's take a look at our commander. Kellan the Fae-Blooded is a 3 CMC legendary human fairy that costs 2 generic and a red. He's a 2-2 with double strike, and other creatures you control get +1/+0 for each equipment and aura equipped to him. But what makes him really interesting is that he has an adventure. Instead of casting him for his normal cost, you can exile him on an adventure to cast Birthright Boon, a sorcery that costs 1 generic and a white to search for an equipment or an aura. While Kellan is on his adventure, you can cast him from exile, and notably, since this isn't from the command zone, he won't be affected by command attacks, meaning that he will always cost 3 mana. What this means for us is that Kellan is a tutor in the command zone that can also be reliably cast as a body for an affordable cost. And while we could use him to grab generically good equipment like the swords, we'll be doing something more interesting today. Enter Ether of Virtue, a 1 CMC legendary artifact equipment. It costs us 1 to equip, and whenever the equipped creature dies, exile it.
I would advise not getting killed by her. Her sword traps the souls of its victims.
The equipped creature gets +2/+0, and as long as the card exile of Ether of Virtue is flying, the equipped creature is flying, and the same is true for other keywords. While usually not worth building around as a card in the 99, Kellan allowing us to search Ether of Virtue early in the game gives us the opportunity to use this otherwise inconsistent card as a sort of secret commander. Using Kellan, we can also search other equipments that support this strategy, allowing us to play a sort of Boros Aristocrats deck. That's right, this isn't your typical Boros equipment deck. Our game plan is simple. In the early game, we want to send Kellan on his adventure to grab Ether of Virtue. Using our other equipment tutors or Kellan again, we'll want to grab a Sacrifice Outlet, with Skullclamp being a preferred choice. This 1-cost artifact equipment costs us 1 to equip and gives the creature it's equipped to +1/-1, meaning that it will allow us to sacrifice any creature that has 1 toughness. When the creature is equipped to dies, it also lets us draw 2 cards, something that we greatly appreciate. From here, we'll want to continuously sacrifice creatures to Ether of Virtue, while getting in chip damage whenever possible, as Ether of Virtue will make any creature it's equipped to a decent threat. And in the late game, return Kellan from his adventure to try to close out the game with commander damage. In order to feed our Ether of Virtues, we need to sacrifice creatures and toss them in the soup. Since our primary sacrifice outlet is going to be Skullclamp, we want cheap creatures with relevant keywords and exactly 1 toughness. Creatures that give us both keywords like Phoenix Chick and Impetuous Sunchaser work great for this, but other keywords like Vigilance and Lifelink don't hurt whenever we can grab them. Another group of creatures that we run are cards like Lightning Serpent and Spark Elemental, which give us relevant keywords in Trample and Haste, as well as sacrifice themselves at the end of turn, helping us feed our Ether easier. Once we have our Ether of Virtue stacked up, we'll want Kellan to return from his adventure. Kellan equipped with Ether of Virtue already crosses into 3-shot range with commander damage, but we want to go faster than that. Grafted Exoskeleton and Hexblade Wallbreaker are the main ways we'll do this. Either of these equipments equipped to Kellan will immediately allow him to kill a player in 1 turn, with Infect and an extra combat step respectively. Since our main strategy revolves around Ether of Virtue, we'll want to do our best to protect it. Lawrence Escape, Blacksmith's Skill, Surge of Salvation, and Boros Charm all help to give it hexproof or indestructible at instant speed for a cheap cost, and spells like Rebuff the Wicked, Tabort's Trickery, and Teferi's Protection give us wider reaching protection. And if all else fails, Forge Anew and Savine's Reclamation can help us get it back from the graveyard. Of course, since we're in Boros, mana is going to be tight. We play the usual mana rocks, including the Iron Crag, which is not only on theme, but also helps us get over the lethal damage threshold by turning into equipment. However, the best cards to help with our mana problems are actually cards that help us cheat on equip costs. Pure Steel Paladin, Aureox Steel Shaper, Ilwyn Lady of Rohan, Bladehole Warwhip, Fighter Class, and Forge Anew all can discount our equip costs by at least 1. And Arden helps us move equipments around, which really adds up. For our card draw, we'll mainly be relying on our Skullclamp, but if that fails, we have our equipment synergies like Sram, Jor-Kadeen, and Akiri, as well as cards that capitalize on our small creatures like Mantle of the Meek, Welcoming Vampire, and Tokesia's Welcome, helping us show up our card advantage. Most games will try to win with Ether of Virtue and Kellan, but in some games you just can't stop Ether of Virtue from being removed. In those cases, we'll have to resort to our alternate win conditions. Underreal Flame of the West is a fantastic piece of equipment for Kellan, working especially well with his effects. This 3 CMC equipment gives the creature its equipped to +3/+2, and when the equipped creature attacks, it creates 2 tapped 1/1 flying spirits that are also attacking if the equipped creature is legendary. Note that the spirits will also be buffed by Kellan's effect, which means that Underreal will boost Kellan's damage per swing from 4 to a staggering 14 alone, which can close out games surprisingly fast. Even without Ether of Virtue, Grafted Exoskeleton and Hexblade Wallbreaker can still be great game enders. And we also play some of the keyword soup payoffs, with Odric Lunak Marshal, Akroma Vision of Ixador, and Concerted Effort. With Odric and Concerted Effort being able to give all our creatures any keywords that our creatures have, while Akroma gives all our creatures +1/+1 for each keyword they have. Now, is this the strongest deck? Of course not, but it takes Boros Equipment's and otherwise tried and tested strategy to a place that we haven't really been able to explore before. I've really been enjoying this deck and it's been performing surprisingly well for me. Definitely give it a try if it interests you.